Live on stage, the sound.
Orlando!
So, is they ready?
Yes!
The sound.
Orlando!
What's going on, party people? What is going on? It is a Monday. We about to finish off this week of Black History Month strong. And what better way to set it off than my next guest? Welcome to the Sound of Orlando show. This is your boy Rome, live and direct. And, when we talk about hip-hop culture, when we talk about what hip-hop culture has meant to all of us and how, from the beginning, Blacks and Puerto Ricans have all gotten together to create this culture of not only dance, fashion expression, lyrics. How can we leave out one of the fundamentals, which is freestyle music, man? This music has been a part of what we have been doing since the very beginning of hip hop, and so when I think about what that has meant to us, man, I'm always delighted, as you know, to have my fellow Boricuas come on, and express, their, contributions and what it's meant to them and what music has meant to them in their life and what, how they've impacted all of us in certain ways. So, this is a great way to start off the last week of Black History Month. Shout out to all my Boricuas out there tuning in right now. This one's for you, So, before we get into my next guest, I want to give a special shout out to, our sponsor of the night, which is 5-Star Graphics. Shout out to my man, Jesse Jazz, legendary promoter in the city, legendary DJ in the city, as well as a legendary graphic design artist. And man, if you need printing, go hit my man up at 5stargraphics.com. Like I said, when we talk about freestyle music, I remember growing up, going to Universal Skating Rink, going to Scats, Park Avenue, Visage, going to these places and wanting to just dance my ass off. And, there was certain music that you could dance a whole different style to. One of that was house music. Shout out to all my peoples that, grew up on that straight up fresh ass hip hop house music. And you have freestyle, man. And it was just, it was just nonstop growing up. Them dance battles were epic. I mean, and all of the artists to, Johnny O, Cynthia, Lizette Melendez, just Cover Girl, Sweet Sensation, all of these artists, man, I mean, they've made so many contributions, similar to the contribution of my next guest, man, one of the legendary artists, in freestyle music and music, straight up, like Latin music, giving us everything that he's got over all of these years, spanning so many decades, man, and he's still doing it. So without further ado, let me give it up for the legendary, the one and only, all Boricuas hold tight, the number one, George Lamond. Let's go.
Woo, that was an intro, man. I love that intro.
We got to get them flowers now, dude. We can't be waiting, man. What's going on? What's good? We got to get those flowers now.
You got my man Darth Vader doing his thing, man. So he's happy right now.
I heard that, bro. For real. Welcome to the show, my brother. Welcome. So honored to have you, man.
I'm glad to be here. Yeah, man, hip hop. So a lot of people don't know. It all started with b-boy and breakdancing back in the early '80s.
Yes.
Hang out with these Ecuadorians that used to live downstairs, and my man Steve, he was Jamaican. He lived upstairs. So I grew up around a lot of brown-skinned people. My parents were born in Puerto Rico, and then they came to the United States to get some work, make some money. So I was born in the District of Columbia. I was actually born in Washington, D.C.
Shout out to D.C. Let's go.
Right. So Shout out to all my Puerto Rican Americans, second generation. And I love this country. I love what this country did for me. I always got this country's back. But at the end of the day, I'm Boricua through and through, Caribbean. It is what it is. And
Right.
B-boy was my calling for this music. I was a break dancer. I was down with the New York City Chief Rockets from Mount Eaton. Shout out to New York City Chief Rockets. We were a small crew. We had some dope guys. They used to call me Loose. Back then, I was loose with my feet, and that's how I started, man. That's where all the butterflies went away, and that's the first time I started actually entertaining in front of people and not having an issue with. But hip hop was the forefront for me because it's what got me into Latin hip hop.
Right. Hold that thought real quick. We get my man Jesse Jazz says your mic is low, so we need you to turn that up so the people that.
All right, man. I'm trying my best. Let me check something out. I got my mic set up over here. Do you hear better this way?
Yes, yes, that's where we want
Oh,
it, right there.
oh man. Well, I got my I got my mic all the way up here. Maybe I'll just do it from here. If I could talk into the mic over here, because you know what it is, I got it set up for recordings. So can they hear me clear this way?
Yeah, yeah, it got louder as soon as you got close to it.
Yeah, yeah. I can't stand up that way, but you guys hear me? Let me know if you guys hear me now.
Yep, everybody's saying yes. So maybe if you keep them both on, if you can, maybe
Yeah,
we
yeah,
can
yeah.
get both.
I'll keep this guy on right here. I don't want to take it out. I can actually use it, but it's just going to make a lot of noise if I take it out right now. So what I'll do
Right.
is I'll just talk into the mic. I don't mean to be rude and look away, but that's what we got to work with right now.
Yep, yep. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Now, like I love what you just said because that is something that can't be said enough. For a lot of the music that hip hop kind of is, if hip hop birthed a lot of stuff. And to your point, a lot of people don't realize that the dance culture the part of what's missing kind of right now, you don't see a lot of people dancing like they used to back in the days. That was just mandatory. Whatever music was out, you had to dance to it. But to your point, coming from that culture, what was it like for you feeling that hip hop culture from the beginning? How did that impact you in the way that we see you today? Talk about that briefly.
So I'm talking to the mic. So the reason why a lot of kids ain't dancing today is because let's face it, they have everything at their fingertips, right? It's all
Right,
digital. Everything's digital. And you know, when we wanted to hear music, we actually went to a physical club because we didn't have a lot of radio stations. We had a few. We had some college stations, but the reception was pretty bad on the majority of them. So to get that fix, we get in the train, take the bus, take a cab, walk it, have a friend with a car, and go to the party. Or not,
right,
there was a jam in the schoolyard. We go to the jam, and that's how we went, and that's how we learned electric boogie, breakdancing, up rock. It was a lifestyle. So that was the difference from then to now. Now, we were just talking earlier. I'm in Tampa. You're in Orlando. I can listen to the station by just getting an app, and I can listen to your show.
right,
So
right,
totally, totally different now. Technology is moving so fast. Um, but you know, we're talking about almost 30 something years now with this kind of music.
right,
And the kids are doing that now, and they're doing a fabulous job. I think there's talent out there that's impeccable. I mean, some of the singers and some of the rappers out there, they're really good. You got a lot of mumble rap and stuff. I'm old school. I don't like that mumble rap. I need to hear your words. You know what I'm
right,
saying? So, I mean, but that's me. I'm old school. I'm someone. I got three kids. I'm a father, so it don't matter.
right, right,
A lot of the young kids are listening. It don't matter. They're gonna listen. Just like our parents back then are like, why you wearing those jeans? Take those jeans off. They're torn. You got graffiti all on your shirt. Why you going out like that? They didn't understand it.
right,
So right now we're telling our kids, get out your room, get off your iPad. You don't watch TV. That's their life. That's their world. So we're talking about two different times, and I wouldn't change it for the world, man. I learned so much. We learned how to travel. We learned what not to do. We learned what alleys not to go down to, what corner not to pass by at a certain time of the night. We knew we were street smart, and I got to give that to hip hop because all the bad guys, the bad boys are out there doing shit they want to, excuse my language,
Right.
stuff that they weren't doing. But we knew where to go and how to rock, and we usually roll with a whole bunch of us.
Right. I remember, and shout out to all my hip hoppers out there tuning in right now. I remember, when that Planet Rock, that Play at Your Own Risk came out, and growing up in the South, we had that Connie, we had that, that Debbie Deb, which was like our first kind of introductions to freestyle in that particular form as it was back then. The Lisa, the Cult Jam, that kind of introduction. But then there was a switch as dance music, house music started to come into play, like the original kind of, because there's always that argument, right? We got the New York house music and then we got the Chicago house. But our first experiences was the New York house and that first introduction of that shit. I remember Red Alert playing house music back in the days. Talk about how you were introduced to Latin soul freestyle and what inspired you to start getting into that particular realm of music, given that you started out listening to hip hop.
Right. So, so a hood is a hood.
A hood is a hood. I love that.
South, West, Europe, South America is a hood. A hood is a hood. You got no money. We got to make do with what we got. And some of the bad apples do the hustling. And some of the good apples, slightly bad apples, they try to hustle and make something with their career, their talent, whether you're a rapper, music, artist, producer, DJ, MC. You make it happen, right? So you say you from Florida, right? Old Town.
Right.
So you guys call it what you call it. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. You just call it your lingo.
Right.
We call it what we call it because that was what was popping in New York. That was our lingo. West Coast was calling it high energy dance. You know what I'm saying? With Debbie Deb, Stevie B, all the early on freestyle, artists, and Debbie Deb, like you said, Trania,
yep.
Trania, that's my homegirl. Give a shout out. I love her.
Yep.
And it's all the same thing. It falls under the same category. You know what I'm saying? So what happened was a lot of the African Americans around the hood mostly were rapping, DJing. They were controlling, most of the set, the parties. You rarely saw Puerto Rican or Latino rapper, but once you saw one, we capitalized on it. Oh, you know what I'm saying? We got Treacherous 3 and all, Fearless 4. So Tito was one of them, and a lot of other.
Shout out to Charlie Chase. Yes.
Charlie Chase, man. You know what I'm saying? So there it is. So and you had your legendaries in the Old Town. They had their legendary in GA and the West Coast, and everyone has their legend. You know what I'm saying? Our legend was Cool Herc, Red Alert, and what I'm saying, Mr. Magic.
Yes.
It's one of the first ones. Mr. Magic, I listened to because WBLS used to play salsa. Believe it or not, they used to play some salsa when Paco was when he was on the radio.
You hear that, people? He just said something that is not said a lot. WBLS played salsa and merengue. It's a wrap. Let's go.
The showdown. And they used to play a lot of, so they started playing a lot of hip hop, and Mr. Magic came on, and then he did his thing, and Marley Marl was doing his thing, and it was just we saw all the b boys doing their stuff, and a lot of the rap groups started doing harmony. They started singing harmony. I was a big Tila Rock fan, and I should see him because I'm from the Bronx. I should see him all the time. I remember him walking around my neighborhood. I thought I was starstruck, because I was like, I see the Rock, and
Right, right.
so a lot of the rappers, a lot of the groups, like Funky 4+4 More, Treacherous Three, they used to sing harmony, and they actually were pretty good, and they used to switch off with raps. So a lot of the breakdancers who had singing talent and rapping talent, they start switching it up. They would take break beats from the rappers or whatever mixtape we could find, and we start singing over these beats, regardless of what the bass line was playing. And we would sing what all teenagers were singing about: love, puppy love, and we started writing songs, and that hip hop became into it. From where I'm from, it was called Latin hip hop because the majority of the storytellers were of Latin descent: dark skinned Latinos,
Wow.
Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Colombians, Cubans, Mexicans mixed. It was just a big gumbo of dark skinned Latino writing music. Naomi, she's Cuban. She was one of the first freestyle ladies to do it on Fever Records. Please Don't Go was one of her big records. I'm talking about New York City. It's different for everywhere else. But that's
Right,
what
right.
got
Now
me.
talk about it. Talk about it,
You know
brother.
what I'm saying? So if you don't know these names, I understand you're not from New York. Google it. Simple. Go to Discog. You find it
Shout
wherever
out
you
to
want.
Fever Records too.
Yeah, man. Fever Records, man. Big, big label. Oh, man. And, now that we're talking about Fever Records, I want to shout out, rest in peace, Marky D from the Fat Boys. You know, he was a great dude. We were on the same record label, Columbia Records. That boy was talented as F. So the Disco 3, the Fat Boys, he's going to be missed. He was 54 years old. I'm turning 54 February 25th. So right there, that right there, it hurt big time because he was one of the first Puerto Rican rappers, not only to have multi-platinum records um, in the hip hop scene and in television and movies, he also produced major artists that people don't know about. Mary J. Blige, Mariah Carey. The boy was unstoppable. Jennifer Lopez. He was doing everybody, man. And I just want to send him a quick shout out to Marky D, Marco Raleigh from the Fat Boys. Shout out to Marky D.
Rest in paradise, Prince, Marky D. To your point, that was just a kick in the gut to hear that last week. Shout out to my man Kuraski. I know he's going through it right now with the loss. To lose somebody of that caliber
Yeah,
right now is just completely and utterly devastating. But he will be remembered, to your point, for all the pioneering work that he did himself and that he was, a part of. Like I didn't know he wrote "Real Love" for Mary J. Blige. I didn't know that. Like that was just an incredible, point, and to hear something like that, to your point, for the Boricuas, for Puerto Ricans, to be representing all of those years in a field at times that you rarely get to see Puerto Ricans in the forefront. They do a lot in the background.
yeah, yeah,
They're
yeah,
they're the mixers, they're the producers and
yeah.
engineers. Dancers. But to have somebody in the forefront like that, and he rep Puerto Rico good. I
Yeah,
mean,
man. He
straight
did
up.
his thing. He did his thing, and he was all about the arts, So, but adding to that, there's a lot of people that people don't understand who are involved in the production of like a George Lamond, a Cynthia, a Debbie Deb, a Trinier. There's a lot of people who invest, in my career, and I can't, I can't go on without supporting The guys who produced me is Chris Barbosa and Mark Liggett. Those two gentlemen, I was blessed to be in their path. Excuse me, and they taught me everything about music. They taught me the creativity. They taught me behind the scenes how to mix, how to record, how to blend, um, how to interview, how to behave, how to and there's so many people that I could just go on with sending shout outs to because I didn't do this all by myself. Yeah, I sang the songs when I went into the booth, but there was a lot of people that helped produce that fulcrum where I lay. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to everybody out there.
Absolutely, man. Like you just mentioned a little while ago, the impact Fever had because growing up, you thought Fever was just straight up hip hop representing force. I mean, the Crush Groove, just everything that it was like had its name
Yeah, right,
on.
right, right.
Everybody wanted to be, like the Fever, but then the Fever was like, I don't know how many records I was like sifted through.
Tons,
Um,
tons, man.
cutting records. Sleeping Bag. A lot of unsung heroes that contributed. Sunnyview, that contributed to the support and movement of freestyle music. Um, Talk about that, um, and how you know what was probably at maybe for 5 minutes considered something that was a niche market, you were able to go major with Columbia Records, mind you.
Yeah,
Talk
yeah, yeah.
about talk about that and how because you were there, you kind of seen all the trajectories. I mean, did you think like they used to say about hip hop that hip hop ain't gonna be around? It's just a fad right now. And did you see that exploding that way?
You talking about hip hop or freestyle? I mean,
Freestyle,
so
freestyle.
yeah, I knew it was going to be big. I knew that with or without a major, something was going to happen, and so did Chris and Mark. Because when they released my first single, a lot of people don't know Battle of the Heart was my first release, but it wasn't under George Lamond, it was under Loose Touch. So whoever has that blue label with the white clouds, you're a real, real, real freestyle and hip hop lover. That was the first release in 1987, right? That was released through Lagosa Records, which was owned by Chris Barbosa and Mark Liggett. And if you look in the inside of the wax, when they did the pressing for the record, Chris always used to write little secrets in there. And one day he had a secret written for me. It was kind of a gift. I finally got the test pressing, and he goes, "Open the record, look what's inside." I was shocked that I had my own record. So I was on the Loose Touch because that was my b-boy name. Everybody thought it was a group, but it was just me and my two dances. And if you look at the inside of the record, it says, "Real good. You got to shine it to the light." All the masters are engraved with not just another Puerto Rican from the Bronx. And that was kind of cool that he wrote that in there. So if you have the record, pull it out, Battle of Heart by Loose Touch, and you'll see it on there. And going back to your question, so what happened was we sold about close to over 80,000 copies on an independent label, which back in the days that was amazing. Like you wanted to sell that many singles. And they started doing a lot of remixes. We had house remix, we had dub mix, we had acapellas. We got how it goes. When you hit record, you're gonna try to run as
Right.
much as you can all these remixes. So we had crazy remixes. We had Frankie Cutlass that did a remix. We had Bad Boy
Shout out to
Bill,
Frankie Cutlass.
Frankie Cutlass, Bad Boy Bill did a remix. You know what I'm saying? Like we had a lot of people doing remixes on there, so that was kind of dope. And then the majors, they noticed, there's some kid making a lot of noise on Lagosa Records. They wound up meeting with my producers.
And how old were
They
you?
liked what my
Hold up.
producers.
How old were
Yeah.
you?
When I started, believe it or not, I was a lot older. When I started, it was 19. My first single was 1987. So I want to say I was like around 25,
Oh
26.
wow, wow.
Right. But I could be wrong because I have the worst memory. I would have to do the math here. Put it this way: when I was I'm gonna be 53. I was always that kid that hung out that every time I went to the club, they always ID me because all my homeboys were taller than me. They looked older than me. They were younger than me. I mean, sorry,
Wow.
yeah. They were younger than me, and I always had to because I always looked like a little baby, and I was always
Right.
when they used to line me up in class, I was
You
like the first one.
still do, dude. Like you still. If the lights is dim, man, them checkers is coming out, man. How old are you, dude? Like
Yeah.
black don't crack, don't it,
No,
man? Let's
no, no,
go.
no, no.
Damn.
Yo, so I was definitely in my early 20s, and we got signed to Columbia, and they were like, we need to cut that loose touch, and we got to give you a name. And George Garcia was, didn't sound flashy, so they came up with a couple of names, and George Lamond was the one that stuck, and that's pretty much the way it is. And then they realized, we're gonna release a new record. Without You was the next release, and it did good. It cracked the top 100 Billboard charts. I think it went 55 in the Billboard charts, top 50, top 100. And then Battle of the Heart. They said let's re-release Battle of the Heart. But then we re-released Battle of the Heart under George Lamond this time, and that thing just went crazy. It went to top 10
Dude,
on the pop charts.
man, that shit was so serious out here in Orlando, dude. You couldn't walk into any spot without them playing that damn record. Like that record was everywhere. I was like, God damn, boy, y'all ain't got enough. Boy, that record was running,
Yeah, I'm gonna tell
running,
you this.
running.
I'm gonna tell you this. The first time coming from New York, from North, coming down to the South, I never realized what bass was until I came down to the Old Town. Yo, when I came down to the Old Town and I saw these homeboys at these whips with these bass cabinets, yo, I don't know how those glass didn't shatter. There was so much bass. I was like, oh, that's how you guys do it down here. It was crazy. I mean,
You
these were
already know, man. Shout out to DJ Magic Mike. Drop that bass.
yeah,
Drop that bass. Let's go.
yeah, man. And I was like, I went back to New York. I remember I did a promotional tour throughout the states, and when I hit the South, man, I'm like, yo, them boys down the South, they don't play with that bass, man. We don't got to compare. We're too like we're EQing our shit up north, though. Y'all, you're turning on the treble, you're turning all those mids down, you're turning up the bass. I'm like, man,
Yes.
it was a fine art to bass bumping in the South.
Yes, yes. You couldn't even go into a club without the. I mean, it's. I would kid it to. We have a big, heavy Caribbean influence here, and so everything's a sound. Everybody builds their spot up to damn near represent a sound, especially back in those days. There'd be a wall of speakers, a wall of JBLs or EVs, and you just stand next to that man. They go into that house or that freestyle, that Miami bass dude, and that thing be not. All you hear is, to your point, lows and highs. That's it, bro. Lows and highs.
Yeah, sleeping at night with that ringing in your ear all night.
Yes, yes. You already know. Now you're on Columbia. Bad of the Heart is just completely blown up. What was that like for you as an artist and as a human being? Because fame and that kind of trajectory sometimes can jack with people. You know what I mean? So talk about what that was like going from maybe known on your block or known in your area to now you're known across the U.S. Talk about that.
So unfortunately, you know, I came from the hood. We didn't come from much money. We lived in an
Right.
apartment. My mom did what she could, but she did a great job with it. She had 8 kids, and she did her thing. And when when I started popping off, and I started realizing that people were breaking into my car. People would, what I'm saying? I remember one time I got out the limo. I came home really late at night. I was performing. The limo dropped me off in my house in the project. I think I dropped some cash on the floor. I tell you, man, I came out within like I would say 20 seconds. I just got paid. I'm like, what's my money? Man, I go out within 20 seconds. That knot was gone. like gone.
Wow.
I was like, yeah, that was a couple of G's that I lost. That's when it was time for me to go. Things were getting a little crazy. People were ringing my doorbell. A lot of people coming over, asking for favors. And, I'm a person that I like to help out. But, hey, I'm trying to make it myself. So I had to get myself up out of there. And I first moved my mother out, got her out first. We went to Queens, got her a nice little pad out there in Queens. I got my place out in Queens as well. And that's where I rested for the majority of my freestyle career in Flushing, Queens.
Shout out to my peoples from Flushing, Queens. Because Flushing, you don't hear Flushing a lot. You hear everything around Flushing. You hear Corona, you hear Jamaica, you hear, Left Rack. But you don't ever hear the World's Fair, Flushing. You don't ever hear that area. Casino Boulevard. Come on, man.
Oh,
You already know.
exactly what you're talking about.
Shout out to my peoples from there, man. They lived so many years. I remember that was the last stop on the 7, right?
Sure.
7 train.
Sure.
And shout out to my peoples out there, the Pagans out there on Casino Boulevard, right after you came out of that what was it, downtown Main Street right there.
Yeah, Main Street, 7 train. You always used to pass by.
It was the last stop.
I'm a big Met fan, so I'm sorry. I know I'm from the Bronx. I'm not a Yankee fan. I'm a Met fan. So,
shout out to the Mets. Let's go.
Mets. And I grew up. So when I moved to Queens, I started hanging out a lot with a lot of Colombians, a lot of South Americans, Central Americans out there. And so shout out to all my Colombian people. I want to shout them out. They treated me right. All my Ecuadorians, they treated me, lovely. And yeah, man, and it was beautiful. After that, it was getting a little crazy. I had to move into like a private high rise, doorman and all that thing. It was getting a little crazy. People were stalking me and messing up my car, and I had to, put in a private lot, and it was just, it was up and coming. So it was kids. You know what I'm saying? I understand. So, but I did what I had to do, and then I became a dad. And that's when it became a full-time job. And I started traveling pretty much the world. I went on tour with the New Kids on the Block, the Northeast tour. I went to arenas. I did arenas, 50,000 packed. It was the New Kids on the Block tour. I was on there with Brenda K. Starr and a lot of other performers. A couple girls were on there. Sensation was on there too. So we did a lot of shows together. And I got introduced to a lot of new markets. And right after the concerts, I would go to the radio station. And I got to meet a lot of DJs, a lot of program directors, a lot of general managers, and a lot of those, DJs that were nobodies. They're program directors now. They're running the station, So
right.
I'm glad I got to see them when they were up and coming.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Because, like you said, when you come from humble beginnings, it's one thing to get money, and then it's another thing to see those, because too much is given, much is expected a lot of times. A lot of these people feel you owe them.
Right. Right.
And if you're still there in the hood, then, you hear that a lot in hip hop. Oh, well, I'm going to stay in the hood. I'm staying there. And that's cool, but you're never going to have any peace. And, you did the right thing by, moving and just kind of getting that peace for yourself, because that's actually better than the money.
Well, I hired a lot of my friends. A lot of my dancers, they were from the hood. They were my boys. They were actually really good b-boys. They were good freestylers when it came to dancing, up rocking, and lofting. They were no joke. They were really good. So a lot of them that you see on stage with me, they came from the Bronx, Long Island, Queens. They were from all around Brooklyn. So I, a lot of my road managers, they were from the Bronx. Some were from Queens. Some were from Long Island. So I had a lot of guys work with me that came up to the ranks with me.
Right.
And I kept it really, really close with my clique. I had a really close circle of people that used to surround me, and the guys.
And that's dope. And that's dope, because a lot of people say when you get famous, you forget where you're from, And part of kind of breaking out of the chains of or the cycles of poverty is, instead of hiring people outside the hood, hire your people. But it's hard, right?
Yeah. See,
Sometimes that's not an easy thing to do because you gotta put up with certain things.
but the great thing about hiring them and working with them is that they were exposed to new places,
Pers-
new places.
Perspectives and places, right?
Like they never been to Vegas. They went to Vegas. They were like, "What?" They went to California, the Beverly Hills. It was like, "This is how they're living." They went to Texas, San Antonio, Dallas, GA, Atlanta, Canada, South America. They were like, they got to see the world and then open their eyes. And a lot of them are doing very, very well for themselves. You know, they're well established. A lot of them left the game. I got a few of them still working with me, but the majority of the guys are, professionally doing well. Great family, beautiful house, great paying jobs, and they got to see the world, and they're still seeing the world on their own. So, and touching on your getting famous and one thing that always stood with me, Rum, is that I knew I was going to get. There was a point. There was when I say there was like a minute of me becoming real cocky. When I tell you it was a minute, it was a minute. I checked myself real quick, right?
Yes.
I thought I was better than everybody at one point, but that went like that. You know what I'm saying? So I realized where I could have gone, and being humble is the best. Being humble, trying to share what you can with everybody, trying to keep in connection with the people that made George Lamond who he is. That's the one thing I would never ignore. Never, never ignore. I will sign autographs until I can. I will talk to you as much as I can. I will spend my time with you as much as I can on stage. I will bring you into my show until it gets to a point where it's a little uncontrollable, which has happened. But I get it. Nostalgia. People get hyped. Slow down, slow down, slow down. And but the one thing I never do is take my fame for granted. I never did it
Right.
then. I don't do it now, and I'll never do it for the rest of my life because I
Well,
know
he
who
he
I
just
am.
dropped. Go ahead, continue. Continue.
Yeah, I know who I am, and I bleed like you bleed. I pay taxes like you pay taxes, and at the end of the day, music is gonna stay, but I'm gonna leave this earth one day, and my legacy is gonna stay. So I'd rather leave it in a good life.
Talk about it, my brother. I mean, you just dropped some jewels. They're pretty basic, but you still dropped them at the end of the day because how many people are stuck in one place? No pun intended. We just went through the whole entire world being stuck in one place. But can you imagine being stuck in one place all your life and you actually had the choice or had the opportunity to go somewhere and expand your mind? That can't be said enough neither. The
And,
idea of
and not to cut you off, not to cut you off.
you good, Bobby.
There's a lot of freestylers out there, and I'm not gonna name no names. There's a lot of them that, sometimes, I make fun of them because I'm a funny dude. I was always a clown. I make fun of myself. I got
Right.
a character on Instagram. It's called Pepito, and it's this filter that I always do, and people get a kick out of it. So I just make fun of things. I make fun of myself. I make fun of anybody. But there's people out there, especially a lot of performers, and they're really full of themselves. And at the end of the day, man, take away the music, take away the fame, you still blood, bones, and stuff. It's not you're not special, man. We have talent. Some have talent, some don't. But at the end of the day, you gotta check yourself because it's not like freestyle was in the Grammys. Win the Grammys. You didn't win no American. I mean, some of the performers got nominated for that. I don't know if they won, but I'm talking about straight up Latin hip hop. I know
Right.
Expose, Lisa, they were out before me. They were doing
Right.
straight up pop music, and it was
Right.
just a little dance, a little commercial. But I'm talking about the hardcore Latin hip hop freestyle, the independent, the up and coming. Those
Right.
were really never nominated. So look, and even if you got nominated, you shouldn't be stuck up. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of performers out there that to this day, we in our late 40s and starting 50s, you can't be acting like you Elvis Presley. So a lot of people they got to get their head checked and then realize that you know come to your senses before it's all gone, and you know uh, you'll realize where you're going if you keep at that staying at that head and realize who really made us famous, and that.
Did you hear what he just said, Orlando? Did you just hear that? I mean, that's straight up jewel banging on your head until there is no more of the dumbness. That is what we need, man. We need those checks every now and then to remind you. A shout out to my man Poetical. He told me this the other night. You better know I'm gonna challenge you. The idea of being challenged sometimes is the hardest thing to accept. In the business because everybody, to your point, has that other thing in their ear telling them, you're this, you're that. And if you don't, it's a daily practice. If you don't constantly remind yourself, and that comes to your point as well, is give away as much as you can so that keeps you at a humble position. When you can no longer give, now you're almost kind of related to the people that you're giving to versus hoarding everything. And then to your point, being egotistical, thinking you're bigger than life. And then, you said something else, legacy. Um, there's plenty of people out here with plenty of money, and the world views them as assholes, or jerks. People that they wouldn't let walk their dog, and you can have everything in the world, but to leave the planet knowing there's people that actually are going to applaud your death and you did it and you caused it, that sucks.
Yeah, that's
Especially
pretty
if you
bad.
got family that have to live through that, they have to hear that. It should be a celebration of your life while you're living as well as you're gone. Um, talk
Absolutely.
about talk about you know some of the craziest things that you've seen out on tour and this tour of the world. What's some of the craziest things that you've seen that even we all got to be crazy as artists.
Right.
That's just what that is.
Right.
As performers, as artists, as thinkers, as inventors, creators, creatives. We're all crazy, but there's certain crazy that even makes you be like, "Damn, now that was crazy." What's some of those crazy things that you seen that really kind of threw you back and was like, "Damn, I thought I was nuts with that
Yeah.
shit. It's over the
I
top."
mean, I was pretty smart in trying to get away because I came from a real bad neighborhood. Um,
Right.
I saw people get shot right in front of me. I knew where to go. I was pretty street smart. Plus, most of the drug dealers they used to look out for me. They pretty much told everybody, don't mess with this kid right here. He's the one that's gonna make it out the hood. And so they had my back. The Savage Skull and the Savage Nomads and a lot of drug dealers from 170. They used to look out for me, and they had my back. Um, you know, I think I think one of the craziest. I had a lot of. It's hard because you're talking about. I started in 1987. It's 2021.
Right. Right. Right.
To try to go back and try to. I mean, but the
But
one
I
that
know there's one that stands out to you.
so
Like,
there's one that
damn.
stands out. I don't even think it's
Right.
that crazy. So Chicago, shout out to Chi Town all day. That is my second home, and that is my number one market, Chicago. So
Shout out to Chicago. Let's go.
So when the gangs the Bloods and the Crips and the Latin Kings kind of died down in popularity in New York City, the New York tri-state area. It was big in Chicago. Like you have to be careful what you wore in Chicago. And I remember doing a big concert, and it was, oh man, there must have been at least, it was the auditorium. Don't remember the name of the venue, and there must have been at least, I don't know, maybe 3,000, 4,000 people packed in there. Big freestyle show, and I remember in the middle of doing Battle of Heart, I remember the folk. That was a big gang out in Chicago, the South Side. I'm doing my song, and when I tell you I see a sea of people, and you see the party, right? It was like the Warriors were coming in. Yo,
Wow.
homeboys were just walking in. Everybody got out the way. So how you not gonna notice a sea of people just opening up? And yo, and homies are walking in to get a look at the show. So I'm performing. I didn't know anything. I'm performing. I'm doing my thing, and they're all in the front. There must have been at least, I don't know, 30 of them, 40 of them. They walked in, and the gates opened like Moses was parting the sea. And I didn't know, and I'm performing, and everybody's killing it. The show energy kind of down the audience. Didn't know why, but I was too busy. I was in the high. I was performing. I was just all into it. And that's one thing about me. When I'm on stage, you could talk to me off stage. The minute I get on that stage, I don't know what gets into me. I become somebody different. I do. I always tell people I have 100% confidence in performance. That's about two of the things in my life that I know I'm confident in. One is being a father. Number two, another one is being on stage. So I got off stage and they tell me who they were. And I'm like, what was that all about? Man, those are the folks. Those guys right there, you don't want to mess with. Nobody want to mess with them. So that's one of the weirdest things that happened to me. Of course, your typical wilding out party in a hotel with women and crazy and all that crazy
Right.
stuff and alcohol, being a rock star. But that was one that really, really stood out to me. And another one, and I got to tell you this one. A lot of people don't know about this one. I did a show in Minneapolis, and it was a club. I forgot the name of the club. And we did the arena. Can't remember the name of the arena. And we had just opened up the New Kids on the Block. So what we used to do is when we used to go to a market, our local LPM with Columbia would say, listen, you're done here. You're done at 8 o'clock. You got a club. You want to perform 12 o'clock, da-da-da-da. Let's do it. We perform at this club. The club was sexy. I was told that the club was owned by Prince. So I'm performing. I'm waiting to perform, and it was a double-decker club. So they had the upstairs closed and the downstairs, so I could look into performing. Don't you know Prince was right across? He was right across in the dark, sitting with two big bouncers, right? So I asked my roadie, yo, who's that? And he goes, that's Prince. So Prince wouldn't let no, he don't take pictures. He don't like taking pictures of people. He didn't, that was his thing. So I wasn't even gonna ask, but to know that he was about 15 feet away from me.
Wow.
Now back then I didn't appreciate it because I was a b-boy.
Right.
Prince he's cool. Now he's like a god to me. But back then he was cool. I was too busy listening to hip hop and freestyle, and I was doing my thing. And that was crazy, man. He was there. That was the second time I bumped into Prince.
Wow, man. Shout out to Minneapolis. Rest in paradise.
Yeah.
Prince. Yeah, that must have been wild because he was that for a lot of people. He was that person that, oh man, he's digging what I'm doing. That's everything right there. Shout out to my man, Great Peso from the Fearless Four on the check-in.
What's up? Peso, yeah.
King George, let's go.
I can't believe he's listening to me.
Yes. Shout out to my man, Great Peso.
That boy's nice. That boy's still nice.
Yes. So, you see where music is kind of heading to right now, in the aftermath or the close to aftermath, if we're being real hopeful, of this virus, this cancer, if you will, on the world. And people are having to kind of adjust in real time their approaches to music. How are you impacted by COVID-19? And what do you see kind of moving forward that, if not yourself, other artists from your perspective are going to have to do?
I'm going to keep it real with you. And this is the first time I'm saying it. I'm going to say it the first time on the show, and I'm not embarrassed to say it. So I used to live in New York City, and COVID got so bad that I started dipping into my savings. And this is where, I got to thank my brother because he was always like, save for a rainy day, save for a rainy day. I'm telling you, people, save.
Yo, include your side mic a little bit too. Include your side mic while you're talking.
Yeah. So, save for a rainy day. When I tell you I used up a lot of my savings, and there was I'm talking about, I had shows for the whole year. All my shows dropped. They're all canceled. They ain't give me my deposit. I signed contracts. That's a whole nother story. I'm not going to even get into that. And I lost thousands and thousands of dollars. So I had to live on my savings. Right. You don't have no retirement plan. Musicians don't have retirement plans. You make your own IRA. I dip into that. I had to dip into that. You know what I'm saying? So I had to leave New York because y'all know New York is expensive to live in.
Yes.
I had to leave New York, relocate to Tampa, stay with my family who supported me when I didn't have nowhere to live, and started. I got a place out here in Tampa because my brother lives in Lutz, my sister lives in Orlando, and I got me a place. My boys stood in New York because they're old enough now. And my little young one, he's in Charlotte with his mother, which I just came to visit him the other day. But I stood here for a couple of months, and again, spending. Nothing was coming in, so I had to take a job. I actually work. I have a job. I have a 7:30 to 3:30 job. That's how real I'm keeping it. And I do that to let y'all know that when you gotta hustle, you gotta hustle. You gotta hustle. You gotta get paid. You gotta pay for your responsibilities. I'm not ashamed of it.
Hold on, bro. That's breaking news. We gotta go to breaking news on that one. We gotta go to breaking news. Breaking news, people. He just broke the internet.
Breaking news never stops.
Turn this motherfucking sound up, man. Blast this is turn the whole this up.
Dude, my G. Legend. He said, fuck that. I got to get paid.
Yeah, man.
Talk about that, my G. Talk about it.
We ain't gonna talk about it much. Let's just
No. But people need to hear, because a lot of people say they're too good to do things. But that my G, is wisdom on a whole next grade. Whatever you gotta do to take care of you and your family.
I didn't want to take any more unemployment. I did the unemployment. I felt like I was stealing. I didn't want it no more. And I was like, you know what? They had took me off, and I could have got back on. I said, you know what, man? I'm just gonna get mine. Somehow, some way, I'm gonna get it. And I told my agent, oh, you shouldn't. I'm like, I'm gonna get me something. It's not out. Keeping it real. Shout out to Maury. She's a big supporter. She's out here to do her thing. I got a job. I'm home. I got my own equipment. I record out of my house and do work out of my house. I don't go nowhere. And then, now it's going to start to get a little crazy because COVID is starting to go down. And my agent is like, we got dates. I'm like, well, you got to wait till I get off work, homie, so I can get what I got in store,
Yes.
So, yeah. So, yeah, man, I got to take care of my kids. I got to pay that child support, So, I'm trying to do it right.
No, man, there's nothing wrong with anything you said. In fact, there's everything right about it, given what is going on. We've all been, I say this all the time, we've all been, 2020 was a child molester. That motherfucker came in and the blessing was that child molester was, a giver, right? So in the midst of him, in the midst of being touched,
Yeah.
it was also given a lot of blessings too, because people had to look deep inside themselves and
Yeah.
figure out what they were going to do moving forward. It brought out purposes. It brought out enlightenment in a lot of people. It made people, respect more time with people. Love better. So
Well,
yeah, we
and,
lost
and not to
500.
cut you off, and not to cut
Yeah,
you off, but I know I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of friends that died because of COVID. I lost a
yeah,
lot of friends. My friends' parents. I was very careful. I didn't want to get sick. I'm a singer. I didn't want to get, I got heart problems. But there's high cholesterol and heart disease in my family. I was paranoid. You could ask a lot of the performers out there. When George Lamond came to the show, you didn't see him. You didn't see him, and I even turned down a lot of shows because I didn't want to do it because there was offers. I'm not gonna lie, there was offers, in different states because every different states, a lot of the states that didn't care about the mask, they were still partying. They were still doing. They paid for later, but they were still doing the shows and concerts, and I'm like, nah, I'm good, thank you. I pass. But my money was going low, 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 and you can't if I can't perform. I can't pay my bills. I gotta pay my bills. And there was a lot of famous boxers, a lot of famous singers that went out there back in the late 60s and 70s that went out there get jobs just to make ends meet. So I'm not ashamed of it. As a matter of fact,
no,
I push it to my individuals and to my friends out there because there is work. When you want to work, you want to work. If you don't want to work, you just straight up lazy. Let's just
right.
go to that. You straight up lazy. If you want to hustle, you want to hustle. I look at this as temporary. God is good, and I'm gonna get mine. I'm already starting to get mine. I'm already. My agent is calling me up, and he's setting up shows. But I'm being very careful. I gotta look at this thing right. I gotta make sure I make the right decisions. But we're not out of the woods yet. We're not out of the woods yet, and I'm gonna keep doing what I gotta do to get rid of this until we get over this
Right.
hurdle of COVID.
You can't work a job if you dead. You can't cash a check if you're dead. So the idea, the concept of doing what you need to do to be safe, salute, homie. That shit goes without saying. And doing what you need to do to provide for you and your family, that shit goes without saying too. A lot of people think they too cool for school and then look like Boo Boo the Fool.
Absolutely.
At the end of the
Absolutely.
day, you can't bet the farm when you ain't got no farm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
You got to go out there.
I have three beautiful boys, Brian, Aaron, and Gabriel. And I want them to know that their father was no slouch. No slouch. I work for mine, and I make sure that I let them know that you got to work hard to get yours. You don't nothing easy. Money don't. We all know money don't fall to trees. So um, I'm sure they're okay with me working, and to them, I'm just gonna be dad. It don't matter. They don't care about no George Lamont. But yeah, man. But
My
it's all
man
good,
George
man.
Stays said, much respect, George Lamont. Been there working 3 and 4 jobs. Some of them were not fun, and but you gotta step it up. People don't save enough, and life in New York area is crazy expensive. Good luck with the move to Florida. Enjoy the weather, you and your family, and we'll see some of your shows soon. Saw you 3 times in Connecticut the year before. Shout out to George on the shout out, man. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
So
saying?
real
'Cause
quick,
that's
hey
real.
George, I've spoken with him before on Facebook. Yeah, man, we're coming to Foxwoods too. So we're doing the Coney Island Amphitheater. We're doing St. George Theater. We're doing Adventureland in Long Island. We're doing the Ford Amphitheater. So we're going to start back again. Things are starting to get better.
Yep. And everything you did got you to this point. Like we said at the beginning of the show, we're losing people left and right. Um, it may not all be COVID, but it just may be the season, and we're losing so many people. Whatever decisions you make to stay alive and survive, because sometimes that is the most basic concept you got in your life. if everything burns down around you, you just got to survive. You got to survive the storm. That's it. And you'll
Yeah.
figure everything out once you get out of the storm.
Right. Right.
If you had anything to say to any future artists or artists that are, you know, were on the come up and then 2020 hit, what would that be and why? What would you tell these young aspiring artists that, you know, that may be discouraged by all of the chaos that's going on?
So I pretty much, I'm going to stick to what I said back when I was like 21, 22. I always tell the up and coming musician, if you really, really want to do it, you're going to know. You're going to know because you're going to do it beyond a shadow. Nothing's going to stop you beyond a shadow of a doubt. You know, you're going to want to make it. That's the passion and the hunger inside. You got to follow your passion. If you don't have passion when you work, then you're wasting everyone else's time, especially your time. So yeah, if it's not a calling, don't do it. If you're in it for the money, go right ahead, make your money if you can, but make sure you have something to fall back on. Always have a fallback plan because every individual is good at something. I don't care who you are, you're good at something. Poetry, cooking, creating meetings, being in liaison and getting people together, doing taxes, whatever. Cook, singer, rapper, writer, producer, no matter what it is that you do, you're gonna know because there's gonna be something inside of you that you're just gonna want to keep doing it. And
Right.
I'm gonna tell you right now, follow that passion because if it's all you think of when you sleep and you wake up, that's what you're destined to do. If you just want to do it for the money, then do it for the money, but have a second fallback plan. Save, 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 because you never know when stuff is going to pop off. It's what I said then, and I stay true to this day what I said now.
Frankie Cutlass has been talking about this new wave of freestyle artists. What say you about the new wave? And do you see it, you know, kind of rebooting, if you will, for a new generation of artists? Um, you know, not surpassing you guys, but taking the torch, if you will.
Right. So a lot of new freestyle artists, they've been around for a while now. They call them, a lot of the agents call them B artists. But, they're A-list artists now because they're up and coming. They've been struggling for a while and they're using these platforms to make themselves heard. Now, me and Frankie Cutlass, we go way back, and I know Frankie Cutlass. Frankie Cutlass and me on the side, we do the real talking and we know the deal. Freestyle. One of the reasons why the new freestylers are, I'm gonna say they're not talented because they are. They're very talented. A lot of these kids, they hustle, they write every day, they work every day, they push their stuff. But their downfall is gonna be the baby gossip. They gossip about each other. They talk about each other. They diss each other on Insta, like little kids back in high school. You would think they're 13 years old. They might as well be
Right.
13 because they look at it this way. Let me start beef and maybe we'll rile up the people and we'll get attention. At the end of the day, you're going to lose respect, number one. You're hurting the music. No one's really going to respect you, right? If you start talking
Right.
about people in a mean way, demeaning way, after a while, you back a dog into the corner, that dog is going to bite. I don't give a fuck who you are. Excuse my language. I don't give a shit
Good.
who you are. You want to talk bad about somebody, go right ahead. But at the end of the day, you got to live with that, and you lose respect and mega points, especially to pioneers like myself and a lot of pioneers that stand behind me. So you go ahead and you talk bad about each other and this and that, and with your 3 followers and your 10 followers. You know what I'm saying? The people hear you and they see you and they will unfollow you and they won't buy your music. That's why
Right.
you're not going to move forward. You want to stay relevant, do good music, stop talking crap, stop talking all that bullshit on Facebook, and maybe you might get radio play, but you really don't need these days. Or you might get someone to play your record, but you want to tout like you're this big baller and you got 12 followers, you know, that's the downfall and that's what's going to hurt them. Now, those are the ones that are just destroying the music. Um, then you got your core freestyle performers who are really good at what they do, and they have a little, you know, they have a little bad apple in them, and they're checking themselves. Those are the guys that are gonna, and the females that are gonna go forward. Just stick to the plan, produce good music, stay true to yourself, forget about what they're saying. It's just cancel out the noise and make music for the people. Because music, the people, that's all they want to hear. They don't want to hear you talking about that you're this and you're that. They just want to know, all right, what kind of music you got? Let me hear, can you make me dance? Can you make me move? Can you make me party? That's what I want. I want the nostalgia of dancing in the club.
What do you see as a way to bridge the gap between um, the OGs and the new generation? Because for for a lot of artists, and I know I'm probably talking the space program right now. I get it. When I was young, I know I listened to my parents' music, but when hip hop came out, it was because we were using a lot of our parents' music to make our own music.
Right.
Now we're not using so much of our parents' music to make music. We're making our own. So there is that gap. But there is also another gap going on right now that seems kind of just like it seems it seems very negative if you ask me. Whereas we're pitted against one another. The OGs are pitted against the young bucks, and the young bucks are pitted against us. And it's just like, nah, nah, nah. Well, we're all parenting like in public. You know what I mean? Yeah, well, fuck you, fuck you. And it's constant war against one another when, there's a lot, to your point, there's a lot of talent on both sides. I think, I think we could all make great music together if we listened to each other and respected one another's, approach. What say you, George?
So a lot of the people that talk a lot of crap on Facebook, it's because that's all they got. They got nothing else. They figure no one's listening to my music, no one's buying my music, no one really cares, no one's showing up to my shows, I'm performing to a dead crowd. They're gonna start, they're gonna start getting into their feelings. They're gonna start talking crap on social media, and that's the way they get attention. If
Right.
you want to make it that way, go right ahead, because you're gonna fade out right away. Um, but there are a lot of good performers out there that are working hard, respecting the lifestyle, respecting the music, and they're putting in their work. A lot of them are call for guidance. A lot of them, I've spoken to a lot of the younger freestylers and Latin hip hop performers, and they call for advice. And I've helped and spoken to so many of them, even the major artists, and I've helped them. There's one thing that I do is I like to help. I like to support. If I got something that could blow you up and can help you do better, I'm gonna give you that recipe.
Right.
I have it don't mean I can't share it, because at the end of the day, every flower is different. Every flower blooms different. So if I sing a song this way and I tell you you should do this, try giving this a try, and then you sing your way, and then you try that, you just blossom. You blossom to some new sound that you're like, oh, sweat, I didn't know I could. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That was great advice. So
Right.
it doesn't hurt to share. It doesn't hurt to share. I don't have problems sharing. I'm very confident again in my music and myself and my stage performance, that I'm willing to give out advice whenever asked. And I get a lot of the homies that call me, and the females that call me, and and a lot of them that that you've heard of, and we support each other. We look for each other, and we look after each
Well, I think that's amazing, man. I think that's beautiful. Your perspective, your point of view on that, because, oh, and we need more of it, because for a lot of young artists, and let's just take away the artists for a second.
other.
Just young people in general, they do need um, guidance. They do need mentorship. They do need, you know, without telling them, you need me. It needs to be somewhat to, your earlier points about being humble. humility, being able to deal with each other as human beings and not as I'm big, you're small, I'm smart, you're dumb, and just try to kind of, if anything COVID has taught us, man, I mean, is the power of family, love, understanding, time. All these things did not mention money whatsoever, but they are the money. That's where all the money is. Because you could lose money and get it back tomorrow.
Absolutely.
We lose GL tomorrow. That's it with GL. There's no more GLs. That's it. So, we just got to find better ways to kind of deal with each other. That's why, like I said, I'm saying like the COVID-19 has been a blessing because it put God told everybody to just sit your ass down somewhere. And we did. And so now we got to listen. And now we got to deal with each other while we're doing all this sitting down and reevaluate how we've been dealing with each other all of these years. Because if people think they're just going to go back to the way it used to be, it's not going to happen. That's not.
Yeah, I think the world is getting a big reboot. We're getting
Right.
a big reboot right now, and I think that's what the world needs. This past president brought out, and I'm just going to end it because I don't like talking about politics only on Instagram. This past person, um, really tore up this country in a way that I never saw it before, and it hurt my heart. It really, like, a lot of people don't know how emotional I got. People that know me know how much it hurts, because I was always proud of and I'm still proud of my country. I always knew that the smarter people would prevail, good people would prevail, but it hurt to show how much uh, device, division we had within our ranks, and how much racism, how much hate there was in this country. I grew up around hate. I know what it is. I was there. I was one of them.
We had front row to the hate, didn't we?
I had front
We had front
row.
row.
I would love to grab a whole bunch of you from the subs and blink my eyes and take you back to 1987 in the corner so you could just have an inkling of what we went through. So you could be like, oh, we get it, but, move forward, let bygones be bygones. I always tell people my family was a step. Our people was a step behind everybody else, but we still came out with it. All right. That goes to show you the perseverance that we have. We didn't have a lot growing up. I used to watch The Price is Right, and they used to give out pools. Man, I lived in a 3-bedroom apartment. I'm like, Mom, if we win this, where are we going to put the pool? You got to think about that for a minute,
Right.
and we didn't have, so, this country needs a reboot. It got a reboot, and hopefully we'll flush out all the bad stuff, and the grass is going to grow greener on the other side, and we will go ahead and learn something from this, and I believe mankind will be way better off than they were when we left off.
Part of the mantra of this show, of the Sound of Orlando show, is our city, our story, our sound. I think you accomplished all of that tonight. You talked about our city, though you're not from here. Once again, I told you earlier, I can't tell my story without telling yours. I think you spoke to that. I think you told your story, which is most important for those that may not have a good idea of who you are behind the music. And I think the sound, even though the mics weren't where they needed to be, but the sound came through because we hear you, bro.
Yeah.
You dropped some jewels tonight that I think not only our people need to hear right now, but I think people moving forward need to hear, um, and how this whole thing has just been a journey for you, and the journey hasn't stopped. You're still on that journey, and to not quit, no matter how rough it gets,
Yeah, I ain't gonna stop.
continue moving.
I just got one thing on Landon. I'm gonna say this on the mic, right? We're gonna close out with
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
so
Yes, sir.
Orlando Strong. You hear me nice and clear?
Yeah, got you.
So check it out. Orlando and everybody out there. I'm just here to say that I love you. I just love you from the bottom of my heart. Love you guys.
Yes, sir. You already know. Let's go, my man. George, GL, Lamont. Hey, I got one more question before I let you out of here, bro. I got to ask because you're a man of our culture.
Uh-huh.
So I got to ask. I got to give you this question. I haven't done it in a few episodes, so you're gonna be blessed with it tonight.
All right.
It is time for the top 5 dead or alive, and I'm gonna ask you specifically just to get insights
Man.
on top 5 artists that have inspired you over the years that have made you who you are today. Top 5 dead or alive. Go.
Luther Vandross.
Oh, let's go. 1.
Uh, Menudo. I gotta say it. Menudo was one of them.
Shout out to
Menudo was one of
Menudo.
them.
Let's go.
The Jackson 5, early Jackson 5.
Oh, man. J5, let's go.
Hector Lavoe.
Whoa, let's go.
I gotta put 2 in there because it was Hector Lavoe and Frankie Ruiz.
Frankie Ruiz, let's go. Let's
Frankie
go.
Ruiz. And Whitney Houston was a big part of me. So there's a lot more, but those are the top 5 that come to my head.
Wow. Yes, you heard it here first, man. Hey, man, so honored to have you on the show tonight. Set off this last week of Black History Month because you are part of that Black history. Believe that. We have been honored to follow your career, enjoy all the music that you made and what you're gonna make. Where can they find anything that you're working on new right now? Where can they pick that up, or where can they find that?
So right now I'm working on. I actually finished the song. I can't talk about it much yet. It's done. It's mixed. Produced by Fly Groove, and I hope I got the name right because I haven't spoken to them in a while. And it's supposed to be released by the summer. I'm going to New York to shoot a video for the track, and if you want to keep up with everything regarding that project, real simple. Instagram is where I live. The real George Lamond. There's a lot of fake ones out there, but the real George Lamond. And Facebook, George Lamond Facebook, pretty much. And I'm on Twitter at George Lamond. That's pretty much where you're gonna see all my stuff. I communicate, and also regarding my shows, I use an app called Bands in Town. That show pretty much will tell you all my venues of performance.
Well, we know, like you said, it's about to open up again. The floodgates about to open. We're looking forward to that as artists, as people that use the stage as their way of creating for people. It's going to be an orgy here of just entertainment, if you will. Probably as soon as them last little bit of vaccines, I mean, as soon as they say it's okay, I don't even see how anybody's going to get any sleep. There's probably going to be a concert every night somewhere. And,
there's going to be a floodgate.
It's going to be madness. But like I said, I want to thank you, bro. I'm so honored you came on tonight. you had an amazing career. You're still doing your thing. We need that. And just know Orlando, whenever you're ready to come out, bro, we got you, man. Come to Orlando, man. Represent.
You know
we got you, bro. We love you out here, man.
You're only hour and change away, man. I ain't going nowhere. I'll be here for a while. So I want to thank you.
Shout out to Hillsboro, bro.
Yeah.
Shout out to Tampa.
Exactly. Shout out to Wesley Chapel. I can't believe I said that.
Wesley Chapel. Yo, you don't hear too many Wesley Chapels. So shout out to Wesley Chapel.
Listen, man, I want to thank you for inviting me to the show. I'm very humble. I appreciate you giving me this time and this platform. Again, it was a pleasure communicating with you and met you today for the first time. And we probably bumped into each other at a club or something like that, man. But
you already know, bro.
You know how this life moves. I want to thank you. Keep your show going, man. I'm a fan now. You guys take care and thank you for listening to George Lamond.
Hey, salute, hermano. We'll see you.
Easy, bro.
Easy. Give it up one time for GL. George, let's go. Let's go. Thank you, brother. Yes, you know how we do it, man. Thank you for joining the show tonight. Everybody that tuned in, we love you. Shout out my man, Jesse Jazz. Shout out to my girl, Elizabeth, Manny. Let's go. George on the check-in. My man, David Hill. Shout out to you. Shout out to Maury. Shout out to Alyssa. Shout out to Annette. Shout out to all of you. Fernando. Yo, shout out to everybody that tuned in tonight, man. We love your support. Keep tuning into the show. Tomorrow we got K7 from TKA. We are the sound of Orlando. We don't play. This is how we're doing things, man. And if you don't know, you better ask somebody. This is what we do, man. Sound of Orlando, Black History Month. This is how it goes down.
Live on stage, the sound
Of Orlando!
So, is they ready? Yes. The sound.
Of Orlando!